Hello, my friends. My name is Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. As many of you possibly, I've been on the edge of my seat following the court case with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, watching clips online, on YouTube mostly, watching reactions of body language experts, watching reactions of psychologists, watching reactions of lawyers, and forming my own personal opinions just from what I'm hearing and seeing. So I just wanted to share with you guys my opinion in case anybody out there cares, right? So this video is basically just me talking about all of my ideas about what's going on, what's being discussed, the evidence that's come out, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing with the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case. I'm going to start off with a little bit of introduction here in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. All right, so Johnny Depp, he's this actor, right? Okay, you probably know that part. If you've ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, the newer Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which I haven't seen that, and a bunch of tons of other movies that I haven't seen. But I've seen uh he was Jack Sparrow, basically. He's Jack Sparrow or Edward Scissorhands way a long time ago. So yeah, Johnny Depp, he's this fantastic actor. I think we all can agree that he is a phenomenal, talented actor. It turns out he's also like a rock star in secret, and he's also like a painter and an artist in secret, but like anyway, come to find out, he didn't want to use his fame as an actor to progress himself in other areas because he thought that that wasn't fair. But then he's just recently in life discovered, why not share all my talent with the world, right? So anyway, he's this phenomenal painter and musician and actor. Now he's had a few relationships in the spotlight. Poor guy, he's every time he tries to go out in public, just surrounded by paparazzi. He says they're comparable to mosquitoes, which when I saw some clips of his children just trying to go to the airport, just like surrounded by flashes of paparazzi, I understand the mosquito comparison, right? If that's just a constant in your life, it is like a mosquito. It's annoying, right? Anyway, but I understand the paparazzi. They have their job, their paycheck to do. It's just a shame that that's a part of being famous, right? That's one of the main reasons why some of us don't want to be famous. All right, even though I have a YouTube channel, don't want any of that negative stuff. All right, my friends. So, Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. So what had happened was a few years back, Amber Heard got divorced from Johnny Depp, and she wrote this op-ed in Washington Post writing about how, without mentioning names, I was in this marriage with a man, which she's only ever been married to a woman, and then Johnny Depp. So it's like, who's the man that was her husband? Like, obviously, she's talking about him, but she left out his name so that she couldn't get sued. But here she is getting sued because, without ever proving anything, she destroyed his whole career. Why? Because Pirates of the Caribbean is with Disney. Disney's a family friendly company. And so any sort of like talk of this person might be abusive or people believe he's abusive, even it's just guilty until proven innocent. So his career was kind of like shattered, right? So he was cut out of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise and kind of not really offered any roles with the exception of Dior. Hey, Cindy Bennett. The whole thing being so public is ridiculous. Yeah, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, I want to talk about some of the things I've been following along with it. It's interesting kind of getting to see into the life of like the rich and famous because he's kind of like this introverted, quieter guy that kind of doesn't want to be in the public eye, but he enjoys acting. You know what I mean? At least that's the impression I got. He doesn't enjoy being famous or in the spotlight, but he enjoys acting and the money that he makes from it. So it's interesting, but he's kind of a recluse in some ways. So also come to find out, in the past, like many other actors and stuff, he's struggled with drinking and drugs and stuff. Well, Amber Heard's side, I kind of went out of order, sorry. So Amber Heard wrote this op-ed. It basically destroyed his career, and now he's suing her for defamation, right? He's saying, this is not true. You said, now she has freedom of speech to speak the truth. But if she ruins someone's career over a lie, she has to be, uh, I mean, held accountable for her actions, right? So we've been watching this court case unfold. Johnny Depp's been showing the evidence that he has. Amber Heard's been showing the evidence that she has. Johnny Depp has been telling stories. Amber Heard has been telling stories, and it comes down to who's telling the truth, right? And they say there's two sides of a pancake, right? And when you hear one side of a story, that's probably not 100% the truth. When you hear the other side of the story, that's also probably not 100% of the truth. So when we start to get the two sides and maybe some third parties, and especially some third parties that are not necessarily on either side, they're just kind of innocent bystanders that observed things, we start to get more of a fuller picture. Okay. Now, Johnny Depp, let's talk about their childhoods a little bit, and it kind of gives the backdrop of who they were in their marriage, right? So Johnny Depp, in his childhood, he was one of like four kids, and his mom was possibly borderline personality, possibly narcissistic maybe, but she was very abusive. She was physically abusive, she was emotionally abusive, and Johnny bore the brunt of a lot of her physical abuse. So she called her kids, if one kid had glasses, she called them four eyes. If one kid had buck teeth, she called them buck teeth. So she was kind of like abusive in more than one way. She would throw ashtrays at their heads. She would beat them with shoes and stuff. So Johnny kind of grew up with that. And he lived in more than like around 39 different homes during his childhood because his mom was always moving houses. So he was always moving schools. Just a very unstable childhood. So because of that, Johnny at like the age of 14 started doing drugs. By the age of 15, he had tried every drug in the book. Okay. So at the age of 12, he discovered the guitar. He started playing music in bars at the age of 13. So he's like this troubled past kid. But here's the thing. I can identify with Johnny in some ways. Not that I ever did drugs, but when he describes avoiding his mom and hiding from her or running away from her or flinching from her, I can relate to that from my childhood with different family members, things that went on. Also, locking yourself in a bedroom or in a bathroom just to keep the abuse away from you, keep a door connections unstable. Sorry about that, guys. So when he describes, sorry if it was unstable for a second, we are back. I'm putting my phone on airplane mode. When he describes that, and his sister can attest and attested on the stand that even though his mom was totally abusive, he never lashed out at his mom. So what that tells me is his coping mechanism that he learned from a young age was to escape. That's that fight or flight. And my own mother, may she rest in peace, I saw that when she was married to a gentleman named Richard. Every time she started to scream and get crazy, he would leave the house. And he would leave and he would be gone for months. And she was distraught about that. And I can relate to the like Amber Heard, Johnny Depp case because Amber Heard was so upset that Johnny would leave whenever there was an argument. So enter Amber Heard. Now, Amber Heard's background's a little bit different. She grew up in several Catholic schools. When she's telling her story, she's kind of trying to make herself sound like this came from nothing, scholarship, hardworking Catholic schoolgirl, when really the reality was a little bit different. She went to several Catholic schools because she was likely kicked out for bad behavior. Don't quote me on that, but she does have a police record that she was driving under the influence in high school. Well, her best friend, when she was like 16, her best friend died in a drunk driving incident. I don't know whether she was involved in that incident or not. But she was into drugs and drinking from a young age too. So she decided to graduate early from high school, and she was from Texas. She was from a conservative family. She decided to go into modeling and acting and all that stuff. So then years married to the mother of his two kids, and he had several other long lasting relationships, but he was never accused of abuse. He was never put in jail for abuse. He was never arrested for abuse in any way. Whereas Amber Heard, she has one sister she grew up with, and her sister was on a reality show with Amber, and they talked about how she had a bruise on her face because her sister beat her up. So Amber Heard beat up Whitney Heard when they were like late teens, early 20s. And agent, her no personal assistant, sorry, her personal assistant testified that she treated her sister like the dog you kick. So she treated her sister really, really bad. And her mother, may she rest in peace as well. Her mother, Amber Heard's mother, said to her assistant that she was terrified of Amber Heard. So we get to see kind of a backdrop. So just knowing that information, we know that Johnny is someone who runs away from conflict, and Amber Heard is one who seeks conflict. She was also, I'm not sure, I think I mentioned it in this video, at an airport. There were a lot of witnesses. She was hitting and screaming at her former wife, and she was arrested, and I guess they dropped the charges or something, but she's trying to say, oh, they dropped the charges, it was nothing. It really happened. I mean, she put hands on this other lady. So anyway, so we know that Johnny has a history of running away from abuse. We know that Amber has a history of abusing. So then comes all of the allegations. One thing we know is that Johnny lost the tip of his finger because allegedly Amber Heard threw a glass bottle and it hit his finger. There are recordings, audio recordings of Amber Heard, trying to apologize and all this stuff. But then in court, she wants to testify a different story. They're trying to say, oh, Johnny cut off his own finger. And really, his main thing that he says is really, really, I think, really good proof that he didn't cut off his own finger, right? Tip of his finger. The main proof that I feel like is really compelling is that he said the guitar, whenever he would be stressed out or need to unwind or had a hard day or whatever, going and playing guitar would be his outlet. And so going through abuse in his childhood when he was 12 years old, teaching himself to play guitar was his outlet for all of that negative energy. He just poured it out in the guitar. Obviously, drugs and drinking had its own area, but playing the guitar was a main outlet for Johnny. So he says, why would I, who I love my guitar, that's so valuable to me, why would I cut off the tip of my finger and prevent myself from being able to play guitar? Because he had to have a cast on his finger, he had to have it stitched, and so there were many months of not playing guitar. Why would he do that to himself? I felt like that was a very compelling argument. Of recordings of the people, his people, like his security and stuff, talking about what had happened, right? And you can also hear Amber Heard apologizing in the background and saying, I'm sorry and I love you and don't leave me and all this stuff. And then later she has a story of supposedly Johnny was the aggressor. Well, we don't hear her saying that in any of these recordings. We're just seeing her constantly chasing after Johnny, constantly apologizing to Johnny. Hello, Meredith, in these recordings. The other thing we see is Amber is making these outlandish claims. She's saying she had 2 black eyes, she had a broken nose, she was sexually She said he used a glass bottle on her. These are things that we would have medical records for, photographs of, we would be able to tell. But instead, what we see is the opposite. Amber Heard was recording everything she could. She took pictures of Johnny when he was passed out drunk and he had ice cream on his lap that was melting, right? She took a video of him when he was upset 3 days after his mom had died, and he's just like slamming around cabinet doors and he's stomping around, and she's giggling in the video. So she does not seem to be afraid of him. You know what I mean? Um, so she was able to document all these things. She recorded all these arguments and conversations of them. How was she not able to document any sort of medical document showing that she had an injury of any sort? She does have a couple of random photos of her with bruises on her face, but some people say it could be makeup. Some people say those are comparable injuries to if you get Botox injections, you get certain like little bruising, and people say, I've had that bruising, right? So it's interesting to see. I feel like if she was so carefully documenting so many things, we would have some sort of documentation of her injuries. Now, I'm not saying that Johnny is an innocent party here. He himself, in his own testimonies, he mentioned to setting her on the bed. Like she hit him on two cheeks and he set her on the bed and said, "You're done." He mentioned restraining her when she was coming at him, punching at him. He bear hugged her and restrained her. Now, in some states, restraint like that count as counter abuse. So now the question is, he admitted to restraining, to setting down. Those are the things he admitted to in his attempt to escape her abuse. So the question is, when she wrote her op-ed and she wrote her truth about being an abuse victim, did she lie? Because if he has ever put hands on her, does that mean that her defamation case is null and void? Because he put hands on, end of story, she didn't lie, right? So that's the question here, right? And then also, it's up to the jury. If there's even one juror that decides to side with Amber's side, then it has to be a full jury that agrees with Johnny Depp, according to the lawyers I saw on YouTube. Anyway, there's something else I wanted to mention, but I forgot. It's just interesting. It's interesting to me how she has so much documentation, and then there's just such a lack of documentation on any injuries on her part. And on the contrary, we have photographs and photographs and photographs of the day after she said supposedly she had a broken nose. She was on live TV on talk shows and stuff. And yeah, you can use makeup to cover up a broken nose, but oftentimes when you break your nose, you also get black eyes and stuff. You would be able to see some sort of swelling. She said she had a split lip. She's making all sorts of like big facial expressions, and that you would be pained to do if you had a split lip and a broken nose. So it's interesting how it's obvious that she's lying. But what she's doing is she's taking stories that really happened and she's altering facts about it. And so it's just trying to like drive out like what's true and what's not out of this situation. You know what I mean? So anyway, I just was like keeping up with the whole saga. I don't know if you guys were. How about you, Cindy and Meredith, are in the chat box? Are you guys keeping up with the saga? I've been really interested. Oh, the other factor is Amber Heard did not have a prenup, right? With Johnny Depp. They were together for like a year and a half. Don't quote me on that. A year to 2 years. Then they were married for like around 6 months and then they divorced, right? So it really seemed like she was really sugary sweet and awesome until they got married without a prenup. And then she was pretty quick to like want to document anything negative about Johnny and just want to end the relationship. I mean, they have proof that she was like almost constantly unfaithful to him and stuff like that. So it's interesting. No, I haven't heard anything about it except they are in court. I think it's interesting. I think one thing I wanted to point out is that all the tabloids, all the magazine covers, they're quick to hear a piece of gossip and just publish it like fact. And I think that's something I've actually never, ever, ever bought a magazine on the sales rack at the grocery store or at the gas station or whatever. I never buy those magazines. Why? I mean, I own a free catalog for seeds for my gardening, but this doesn't have any sort of celebrity gossip in it. I think it's cruel and unusual punishment that just by being royalty in England or famous in some movies, that gives these gossip columns the right to just like publish bad pictures of you, edit them, and like talk bad about you and say, "Oh, he's a woman, he's a wife beater and this and that." I feel like they shouldn't be allowed to publish all these lies. I feel like it's cruel and unusual punishment that these magazines make so much money off of just talking bad about people. It's just gossip, and it's not a lot of times not true. Anyway, I want to say, but um it's interesting. It's really interesting. But I want to say I've known people with borderline personality disorder, namely my mother that I grew up with. And so I can understand when Johnny's talking about his mother that he grew up with and when he's talking about Amber Heard, I can relate so much. And I feel like a lot of people, if you have not had an experience with someone with borderline personality disorder or with narcissism, if you haven't had an experience with them, you would not understand the level of deception that goes on and the level of abuse that goes on behind closed doors. So like everybody out in the public thinks she's this wonderful person, but behind closed doors, the people that know her personally know her as an unstable individual with rage problems. And the reason I can believe that story is because I've known someone like that. Anyway, I'm not saying that Johnny Depp is an innocent party. He's admitted to drug use, he's admitted to alcohol use, and he's admitted to putting hands on to set her to the side or maybe even probably pushed her away. Probably he didn't admit to pushing her away, but that's likely something he did. He's admitted to bear hugging her to try to get her to stop punching and all that. And he probably didn't always keep his cool. We see text messages where he's cussing her out. We've seen some recordings where he's cussing her out. He's definitely, possibly been emotionally abusive. So he's not an innocent party there, but the point is, does she have the right to destroy this man's career when she herself was an aggressor in the relationship? So anyway, interesting stuff, fascinating stuff. Thanks for listening to my 2 cents about the court case. All of this has been my opinions and alleged, none of it fact. Feel free to check into the information if it interests you. All right, I'm gonna go to Home Depot and get some soil for my garden and maybe some wood to build another raised bed. I have plenty of seeds. All right, thanks so much. See you guys next time. Bye.